Let's talk about color science. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Iz, and I'm a freelance fashion photographer and videographer. So I mentioned back in one of my previous videos that I was unsure about any improvements made to the color science of the A7IV until I did some further testing. This video is going to be the first part of that test. In the next video, I'll be showing you a direct comparison between the A7 III and A7 IV for color science in photography. Color science might be the last thing that you consider when purchasing a camera for photography. And that's not really surprising when most of the marketing of cameras today really focus on selling you the megapixels or the form factor or the eye tracking, SD card speed, low light performance, and so on and so on and so on. I didn't really know much about color science when starting out. I just wanted to learn how to take good pictures, frame it right, expose it right, and just make sure it's in focus. Once I became confident in all those areas, I really started to think about the next steps of my photography journey as art. I really found my art in photography through colour. I've always been someone who tries to look at the colourful side of life, and I wanted to bring this feeling to my photography. If you've already been following my work on Instagram, you'll know that I really try to bring elements of styling, location, and editing together through the colour. And this is why the color science eventually became really important to me, not just as a photographer, but also as an artist. And that's why I decided to reach out to today's model, Liv, who could bring these elements to today's shoot. Liv's hair color really stands out, as well as her styling, so this would be a great test for the camera to see how the A7 IV handles color science. In a nutshell, color science is the colors reproduced by the camera. Each camera brand produces colors differently. Canon has always been loved by the community for its color science and how natural the skin tones look. And Sony hasn't had the best feedback in the community when it comes to color science. In fact, I used to own a Canon 5D Mark IV, and once I moved to the A7 III, which I'm currently shooting on, I really noticed the shift in colors. If you've ever owned an A7 III, you might have noticed a green tint in your images. This was one of the biggest complaints about the A7 III at launch. Since then, Sony's done its best to change the color science on older cameras through firmware upgrades, and it's much better now. So in today's video, I wanted to see how good the color science is of the A7 IV straight out of the box without any firmware updates. So let's start off this shoot with outfit 1. We decided to go for more neutral color tones in this styling, and the location, which I felt was a really nice contrast with Liv's skin tones and hair. I think the styling also really blends well in this urban environment, and the overcast weather really helped. No harsh sunlight, the clouds were basically one big softbox which helps to diffuse the light into softer lighting, and I was quite surprised when I looked at both the RAW files and the JPEG files. For the neutral look and styling, the colours produced by the camera felt very true to life, and skin tones looked very rich. I also didn't notice any apparent green tint like the A7 III used to have, and as someone who loves colour, it was just so good to see how much depth and colours you can really pull out of this camera and its files in editing. So for the next outfit, I wanted to use one of my favourite techniques, which is colour theory. In a nutshell, colour theory is a way of communicating appealing colour schemes. You can do this yourself by using the colour wheel. We used this method to decide Liv's second outfit, which was pink, and by using the colour wheel, we were able to find a colour scheme that complements pink, which is generally green. After we found our appealing colour scheme, we scouted a location that complemented the styling in the same way. And surprise surprise, the Sony A7 IV did a great job, even with high contrasting colours. I was also really impressed with the auto white balance, as it does a great job of separating each colour. Especially when shooting colours like pink, my older cameras would easily overlap into skin tones territory and often overcorrect the white balance for skin tones. But this camera's ability to detect the individual colours really gives you a true to life starting point, and that can make a big difference if you're someone who's very keen on shooting JPEGs instead of RAWs. But even if you do shoot RAWs, it's just so convenient and time saving to be able to have a more accurate starting point for editing and colour grading. With that said, my out of the box experience for colour science has been really pleasant with this camera. When I used the A7 III in the launch period, in the back of my mind, I was always missing my 5D Mark IV for the colour science. But with this camera, I really don't have any second doubts about the colour science. So I want to finish off by saying this: editing and your taste for colour, it's just all subjective. Find a camera that not only fulfills your technological needs, but also your artistic vision. For me, this camera does that, and next week I'm going to do a deeper dive into comparing the A7 III and the A7 IV RAW files on the same shoot, so we can really get into detail about the visual differences of each camera's ability. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, you definitely don't want to miss that video. And now, as always, I'll leave you all with some more content from today's shoot, and I'll see you on the next one.